everyone. I'm Vincent Caldera, and I'm the Chief Technologist for Red Hat, based in Asia Pacific region. Today, I wanted to share with you about the application modernization journey that Red Hat and Infosys Finacle have been on for the past couple of years. But first, let's try to understand the why behind this journey. The banking industry recently has had to face a wave of disruption that forced banks to operate faster. And I think there are really two key trends behind this. The first one is really about open banking model, which force financial institutions to think about how they now have to operate into a broader ecosystem of financial services and work with partners in order to be able to reach the customer and to understand their needs better. So that is actually forcing banking institutions to rethink about how to use technology, and also in turn having to think about how to deploy security without compromising all the expectation of the customer in terms of how their data is being secured and preserved along the way. The second trend is actually how financial services are being consumed. The recent situation with COVID and many economies actually being in lockdown has really kind of fastened this change. And now it's actually very, very clear that most customers expect to consume mobile services not by going to the traditional branch, but to actually consume them on mobile. For this reason, what we really focus on at Red Hat is helping some of our customers, such as ANZ Bank in Australia, to really adopt new practices in terms of helping their developers and their IT operations team to accelerate the way they deploy new features or changes all the way into their application. And we actually see fantastic results with banking institutions that are able to go through this journey. Like in this case, the ability for this organization to accelerate their deployment time by close to 98%. What's behind this capability is really what we call at Red Hat the open hybrid cloud. Open hybrid cloud is really three very fundamental capabilities. The first one is about the open platform that lets you build, test, and deploy changes on just any infrastructure, whether it's actually on premises, on a private cloud, or on public cloud. But extremely importantly as well, organizations need to be able to foster collaboration between their development teams as well as their IT operations and security team. And this is where an open platform for us is also about providing tools for developers to build, to test rapidly changes and technology, and at the same time, having the guarantee that when those tools and applications are being rolled out all the way into IT operations, it's actually quite easy to operate the application on a day-to-day basis without actually breaking features or preserving the data. On top of this platform, we actually work closely with partners such as Infosys Finacle to build the new generation of digital banking solutions. Now, let's focus a bit on the journey itself. We often hear about cloud native development. Cloud native development is really about three things. First and foremost, and probably the most important, is about changing the mindset of organization to adopt new principles and new processes in terms of how you build, deliver, test applications all the way to production. We often hear about DevOps, and DevOps is really about changing your process so you can foster collaboration across the IT and business team. Now, on top of DevOps, there's also a need to rethink how we architect software. And here, the ability to build loosely coupled modular application is very crucial. We often hear about microservice and API. Those are actually enablers of this type of architecture, which makes it easier to deploy changes across the application without breaking what already works. Last but not least, we've discussed about the platform, and this is where the technology, the ability to deliver those changes into small units of technology that are the containers and to orchestrate them on just any infrastructure is very important. This allows portability, which means that whatever you have tested and validated can be deployed anywhere, but it will run the same way. This is what really makes applications modular and self-contained, and also enable the fault tolerance and the scalability that financial institutions need. So that's it for the presentation. And I'd like now to introduce KRV, who is the lead technical architect at Finacle, to discuss the journey that our two organizations have been gone on. So KRV, thanks for being here today.
Thank you very much, Vincent. Pleasure to be talking to you and very happy. Thanks for inviting me to your session.
Likewise. So we often hear in the industry when a financial institution are asked for why is digital transformation not happening, very often the culprit that is pointed at is the core banking system. Whether it's because it's monolithic, it's hard to change it. Very often what we hear is the cost and timeline that is really behind making any change on the core is really what is holding the bank from evolving. So can you share maybe a bit about Finacle journey and the driver for modernization and what's your experience with this?
Sure, Vincent. So I think you alluded to the fact of products being monolithic, and I think that is where the problem really starts. But luckily, from our point of view, in our experience with Finacle, Finacle was never built to be a monolith. The code that implements our business logic has always been modular, and there is a clear segregation between the modules and the underlying common code. Our business logic processes are completely stateless. Our J2E processes are also completely stateless. And our design philosophy has always been based on the concept of a stateless process-based architecture. And I'm sure you'll agree with me when I say that processes are today first-class citizens of the cloud-native world. So we have had to segregate the common code and module code as independent deployment elements in order to make them available as independent container images. So this is what has in large helped us to make the transition from a modern world, from a modular world into a true cloud native world. I agree that we've had to make a few invasive changes to our code in order to align to the 12-factor principles of cloud native application deployment. But otherwise, it has been largely an exercise that has focused on simplifying and making our architecture amenable to cloud. So this, along with a DevOps pipeline that connects our engineering artifacts to a customer's environment, is what is enabling Finacle to deliver to cloud today with the agility that the digital world demands. So my sense is that as long as products are built on the basis of fundamentally strong architectural concepts, they should be able to make the transition to a cloud-native digital architecture on the back of some meticulous planning. Now, if this is not the case, then there will be no option for them but to take up a rewrite of the platform.
So thanks for this insight. And I really like the message about having sound architecture principle to drive this type of transformation, because I think it's very, very crucial.
Absolutely, that is key, Vincent. Yes.
Yeah, and so now moving to the concept of cloud native development, can you share with us in your experience the benefit of adopting open source technology to actually go through this type of change?
Yes, again, a great question. I think that is one of the key drivers to move towards the cloud native world. I have briefly touched upon some of the points in the previous question already. In addition to the constructs that I spoke about, what I'd like to also mention is that our technology choices have been key for us to move towards an adaptive architecture. And our choices have largely been inspired by the evolution of product maturity on the cloud native compute foundations landscape. In fact, Finacle today is a silver member of the CNCF and the Linux foundations. And this opportunity will allow us to play an active role in the evolution of the cloud native ecosystem and also its adaptation to Finacle's cloud native journey. On the back of choices made on the subscription and the recommendations of the CNCF, Finacle today supports a very lean, agile, and cloud native architecture. And if I were to look at it from a pure play technology point of view, our focus has been centered around being not just cloud native in order to support public and hybrid clouds, but also to ensure that we are able to enable this experience for our customers on premise on a private cloud platform as well. And this is where I think our partnership with you has been critical. We have adopted OpenShift for our products to support an on-prem private cloud model. And we're also seeing a large number of our customers talk to us about using OpenShift on a public cloud as well. So this strategy is largely being driven by banks so that they can take a common architectural model across private cloud as well as on public cloud, and thereby help them to progress seamlessly to a hybrid cloud model. And last but not the least, I think Red Hat UBI, which forms the base image of our container platform, has also helped us to optimize cloud performance and security model very significantly, Vincent.
I think this modernization journey has also helped Finacle to look more broadly at how the relationship with the banking customer can deliver superior experience. So I'd like to focus maybe now on what were some new capability that the platform now can provide to your customer, which enable the use of data analytics or artificial intelligence. And I'm particularly interested in your view and experience what some of the key enabling technology of the digital banking of the future are.
Yeah, so great question, Vincent. I think this is something that's absolutely relevant in the context of the digital world. So since you mentioned both artificial intelligence as well as insights, I think both data and data-driven design are the central themes for any good AI and analytics platform. And data is the basis for both of these actually. So a platform that's good at both must actually deliver data at scale, and that's the fundamental basis. So if we look at banks today, traditional data warehouse systems in banks are focused more on the integrity of the data and the principle of a single source of truth in order to deliver the traditional data products. However, in AI and analytics, there is no such thing as a single source of truth, right? So AI and ML require data from multiple sources, and some of these are actually absolutely newer data sources with potentially very large volumes of data, such as clickstream analytics, for example. So to facilitate AI-based innovation, the AI platform needs to be able to implement data integration pipelines and patterns that are a lot more versatile and scalable. So at Finacle, we are actually focusing on two key technologies that we believe are fundamental to supporting this construct and mastering the digital business. And these two are APIs and eventing. Now, you might ask me how APIs and eventing become relevant in the world of data. The answer really lies in comparing their pros and cons together. So if you look at APIs, right, they're great when it comes to implementing a standardized REST protocol and supporting direct transaction control. But they, however, do not suffer from the drawback of having a direct one-to-one coupling, and they require a synchronous access as well as a stateful interaction. Events, on the other hand, by virtue of being asynchronous and stateless, deliver the exact opposite benefit. But however, eventing architecture, on the other hand, relies on an eventual consistency model. Sometimes it can get hard to test and debug and govern. So when used in tandem, both of them are actually crucial for sharing data to support effective analytics as well as AI and ML models. And this is where I think the effective use of both APIs as well as eventing is going to power forward the real-time analytics use cases and eventually into the AI model. And again, I think there are some great constructs available in the OpenShift container platform, which can be leveraged both on private as well as public cloud, which will possibly be a part of our key strategy as we go forward. So that's what I have to say on that question, Vincent. I think that was a great question.
So thank you very much, KRV, for your insight. And I really look forward to our continued partnership on this journey.
Likewise, Vincent, pleasure talking to you as always. And again, thank you for inviting me to your session. It was good talking to you. And like I said, Red Hat is going to be a key part of our strategy. So look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you.